today's first round, but polls suggest that this man, Viktor Yanukovych, leads the pack. It's been a remarkable transformation for him. 5 years ago, he was portrayed as the Moscow-backed villain of the Orange Revolution. Allegations of vote rigging brought hundreds of thousands of people onto the street, overturning his initial victory. His nearest rival is another familiar face from the past, the current Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko. With her iconic plait and fiery rhetoric, she was instrumental in rallying the crowds. She's accused Mr. Yanukovych of again preparing to falsify the results, accusations that he's dismissed. The biggest loser is expected to be the current president, Viktor Yushchenko. He led the Orange Revolution during the winter of 2004, but his popularity has plummeted amid a perception that he's not lived up to his promises. It's unlikely that there'll be any large-scale protests on Independence Square this time around. The euphoria of 5 years ago has turned to disillusionment. And whoever does become the next Ukrainian president, he or she will have plenty of work to do to regain the trust of the voters. Gabriel Gatehouse, BBC News in Kiev.
Now, the big freeze may be easing in some parts of Europe, but nearly 30 provinces in Spain are still on alert after gale-force winds hit much of the country. Storms packing winds of more than 100 kilometres per hour wreaked havoc across the country, injuring several people. The winds brought down trees and power lines. Around 40,000 houses were left without electricity in the province of Galicia. Angola has summoned the French ambassador over concerns that Paris hasn't done enough to track down a separatist leader. Rodrigues Mingache, the fractional head of the FLEC group, is said to be living in France. FLEC, you'll remember, claimed responsibility for the attack on a bus carrying the Togolese footballers as they entered Cabinda to take part in the Africa Cup of Nations, in which 3 people died. The European Union's President Herman Van Rompuy says he wants to learn from the Copenhagen Climate Summit and guarantee the EU remains the driving force in negotiations. The UN conference in December produced a non-binding agreement which left many observers sceptical about the possibility of limiting global warming. Now, today marks the start of the salmon fishing season on the River Tay in Perthshire in Scotland. But this year, fishermen are being urged to throw back every fish they catch to help conserve stocks. Our Scotland correspondent James Cook reports from Kenmore on the Tay.
The chill winter mists of the River Tay. Tranquil above water, but below the surface, the salmon are on the move. They're coming to the end of an epic journey from the Atlantic, which will finish in the shallows where their lives began. But from today, there will be one more obstacle in their way, as the first flies are cast into the water. For the people who come here every year, the start of the salmon fishing season is a special moment. But this year, for the first time, all the fishermen are being urged to put back every fish they catch.
The number of spring salmon returning to the Tay, and indeed all rivers in Scotland, has been declining. Not for reasons in the river, for reasons out at sea. There's fewer fish coming back, but if there's less fish in the river, we must do what we can to conserve them.
A handful of fishermen may ignore the request to return their catch, but Ali Gowans is among many who support the plan.
In principle, it's a very good idea. It's been very successful on the Aberdeenshire, Dees, Dee and lots of other rivers across the world. So catch and release is a proven means of helping the salmon to survive better.
Fewer fish are making it back here to breed. Why? Climate change, fish farming and pollution have all been blamed, but the truth is, no one really knows. James Cook, BBC News on the River Tay.
Now, don't forget that you can keep right up to date with developments in Haiti on the BBC website, bbc.com/news. Andy Gallagher is one of our correspondents there in Port-au-Prince, the capital, and he's filing eyewitness reports on a regular basis. It's being constantly updated, so that's where you can keep up to date with the relief operation, whether the relief is actually getting out of the airport and being distributed amongst those people, those desperate people who need so many supplies. Now, in a couple of minutes or so, Sally's going to be back. She's going to have more on JP Morgan's expected multi-billion-dollar bonus pot. That's in World Business Report. But first, it's a look at the international weather.
Hello there. It does look as though the wintry chill to the weather is just easing from many parts of northwest Europe. On Friday, we've got some wet weather pushing into parts of the UK, fairly windy here too. And for Portugal, the arrival of some wet weather from the Atlantic. Further east, high pressure dominates, so many places having another dry day. Clear skies continue in Cairo, but fairly breezy to end the week. Cape Town keeps the sunshine too, quite a swift southeasterly breeze, but temperatures creeping up a few degrees. It's a bit of a disappointing day in New York, fairly cloudy on Friday, but much brighter here by Saturday. In Vancouver, further wet and windy weather to come for both days. For South America, it's a mix of sunshine and showers in Rio de Janeiro. Caracas keeps the sunshine, temperatures of 30 or 31 degrees.
I love it because I love football.
We don't just want to know who scored.
We want to know how, when, and where.
And the commentators, they know everything.
And the crowd has gone wild.
It's just like being there yourself.
Player profiles, results, stats, it's all here.
On your mobile.
What is this? Fantastic!
The BBC puts the whole of African football in your hands.
Cape Town's Greenpoint Stadium symbolises South Africa's pride in hosting this year's World Cup.
It's not only about the football, it's about the infrastructure, it's about the improvement of the country. It's a dream.
Other questions remain about ticketing, about crime, and about the likely success of the South African team itself.
Las Vegas, city of sin, has been transformed into the city of silicon. This week, Click is at the enormous Consumer Electronics Show to look at the shape of computers to come and to meet the boss of the biggest tech company in the world. That's all on Click, only on BBC World News.
They were the most powerful couple in Northern Irish politics, but now that all lies in tatters and a crisis looms.
I've asked the Minister for Enterprise, Arlene Foster, to carry out the functions of the Office of First Minister.
This relationship was much more than I had ever construed.
I'm at a point where